Radio 1, Catatonia and Road Rage, of course. And so in the middle of what was a really hectic promotional trip to the UK the other day, we managed to grab 30 minutes with Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins in between rehearsals for a TV appearance. And it couldn't have been more odd, really, because the Pumpkins had a dressing room right next to Terry Wogan, who seemed to have just locked himself out of his dressing room next door. But Corgan, who, well, despite apparently just having had a rather heated exchange of words with his management, far more laid back than the last time I spoke to him, which was just before the release of Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. You may remember that on the programme. But this, of course, this is the all-new Smashing Pumpkins. It's a new lineup, new vision, and a new album, which is called Adore. Anyway, and this is how the interview went, starting off with how they made the new record.
We did a week worth of demos when we came off the Melancholy tour in February of '97, and then we took some time off, and the demos kind of set the stage for, we thought we were going to do a more acoustic, kind of simple, quick album. And then as we got more and more into it, it just kind of seemed to spiral out of control. So the 6 months?
6 months in the end.
6 months is the literal time. But there were stops and starts, and people got fired, and it was all very dramatic.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is the worst bad studio day you've ever had, what was it like recording it?
It was painless on a everyday level, because I was pretty much running the recording session, so, you know, depending upon my mood, we would do one thing one day and one thing another, and I kind of got very indulgent. You know, I'd spend 7 hours on one drum loop or something like that. I didn't have anybody standing over my shoulder going, shouldn't we be moving this along?
Yeah.
But emotionally it was difficult, because I just felt like I didn't know what I was doing half the time, because I just completely junked everything that my band was about, to the point of I felt really kind of insecure and not really sure what direction I was headed in. So
it's a conscious decision to sort of leave the last album after Melancholy. That was then, and this is going to be a complete break.
Right. No, we said that when Melancholy came out, and people kept looking at us like we were crazy, but we really meant it. I mean, we felt that, you know, alternative rock, American alternative rock, had kind of reached its nadir, and that was the end of it. Do
you think that there are particular key tracks on the record, or there were tracks when you wrote them, which were like there were parts of the plot?
I think the record kind of breaks into three groups. There's kind of what I would almost call the folkish material, and I think Tashiela is the key track in that, because it really gave me the confidence that I could write like a simple, you know, almost like Bob Dylan-esque kind of song, whereas I never thought I could tell a story like that. Then there's kind of probably the more progressive element of, you know, something like Apples and Oranges, which is probably a strange fusion of the Future and like 80s New Order, Cure, you know, atmospherism. And then there's this kind of very kind of ballad-esque kind of aspect. So it's like there's ballads, there's future music, and then there's folk music. Those are the roots of the record.
It's quite open-ended, really, a lot of the tracks on this record, because there's always the unanswerable questions, the what-ifs.
Yeah, right.
There's a few what-ifs, I think.
There's plenty of what-ifs. I think I guess I would put a little bit of it to just maturity, where I think you just kind of realize that there is no kind of black and white answer to life. It's like when people get into huge discussions around a bar about, you know, the meaning of life and the meaning of the universe. Well, the greatest minds in the world in, you know, 4,000 years haven't figured it out, and it's certainly not going to happen in a pub, you know. you just kind of you stop trying to come up with this finite answer, you know.
But don't you find that's the strange thing? Because, as you say, you know, great men have sat around thinking about these things for ages, but we expect pop stars and people in rock bands to be able to do it for us.
Bad choice for guidance. I tend, you know, it's like I think of the Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like the meaning of the universe is 42.
Yeah.
But they can't remember what the question was, you know. So they have the answer, but they don't have the question. So
we've got this band in Britain actually now called 6x7, and I wondered if they took their name from that, because I think 6x7, 42.
Gee, I wasn't good in that.
No. What was your subject at school then?
History was my subject.
Yeah? Any particular bit?
I go through different phases. Right now I'm in America in the middle 1800s.
Do you go, when you travel around then, do you, like, first time you came over to Britain and stuff, did you do a lot of going, you know?
Oh, I drove everyone crazy because I wanted to see everything, you know. But after a while you realize that it's really hard to mix something like this, which is work on some level, and pleasure, which that is what it would be to me. And I found that trying to be a tourist was impeding upon my ability to do good work. Well, because I don't do anything.
Every time they look for you, you were at the Tower of London. So.
I actually I actually, in 1991, I made Courtney Love go to the Tower of London with me.
Is that right?
Yeah. And of course, no one knew who either one of us was at the time, but it was pretty bizarre seeing the Queen's diamonds and stuff, and with everyone staring at us, but obviously for all the wrong reasons. And she kept saying in her beautifully brazen voice, "Why are we here?"
That's terrific. Back on the record, because we're going to play a track in a second. Did it make more? Were you like more sort of warmed and like, really, yes, this is success? When you did get it right, when you made something which was you were really pleased with, were you like more pleased?
Yeah, I honestly didn't feel that till the very, very end. It was a mixture of a lot of things, but Flood had a lot to do with it because he's such a good friend and a good producer. He kind of put it into a focus that maybe I hadn't had because I was working on it for so long. Yeah. I didn't really see the beauty in some of the songs until the very end because I just got so caught up in the process or, the politics of trying to do something like this and, kept slapping myself on the wrist. You cannot rock,
You must not rock. You didn't put it on a big, big sheet of paper and put it over the studio, did you?
No.
We'll play the track then. This is from the new Smashing Pumpkins album, Adore, and this is Daphne Descends. It's the evening session, talking to Billy from the Smashing Pumpkins, who never ages. I don't think. Look,
thanks.
He's the new Peter Pan of rock. Like, we have Cliff Richard in the UK. They call him the Peter Pan of pop music.
Yeah, I just saw Cliff Richard, Sir Cliff,
as
he's known.
Yeah.
On the telly today.
Yeah.
And he's looking pretty good.
I was thinking about this the other day. I met up with some friends I used to run a fanzine with, and we were talking about what we thought we were actually going to achieve when we were 13. And have you gone way past whatever you thought you were going to be as a teenager?
Well, when you're 13, your conception of what, fame or glory would be is so different than the reality, because you just don't have any conception of bills, girls, cars. So, it certainly far exceeded anything I ever expected. Our conception of what being big was, when I was 18 years old, was playing to like 1,000 people. So, to play for, like to do Glastonbury and to play 60, 70,000 people, it's so far beyond the conception of anything you ever imagined,
Yeah. Did you want to be a musician, though? And be in a band when you were young?
Well, my father is a musician, and I felt kind of fairly discouraged from being a musician. There were definitely a lot of politics in my family that musicians were bad, drug-taking people. So I honestly never considered it. I was, in my family, I was considered the smart one. So I was the one who was going to go to college and become a doctor or psychologist or something. And, one day that light bulb went off, and that was it. I didn't care what anybody thought.
Do you have any idols when you first picked up and started playing guitar and writing songs?
Probably Jimi Hendrix and Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath are probably like two of my biggest guitar idols. Eddie Van Halen. I was definitely like a hard rock kind of kid. I always loved the Beatles, but it took me a while to connect the dots between like hard rock and the Beatles and how music is just, it's what you make it. It doesn't, you don't have to, when you're young, you think, I like this and everything else sucks,
Because one of the strange things, I was thinking about this the other day as well, which I suppose you've gone through, is when you're young, you want to make lots of noise. And sometimes in bands' careers, or, it becomes a challenge to be able to actually have the impact without the noise.
That's what I felt. What I felt was so hard with this album was, how do I achieve the same kind of visceral, emotional quality without banging everybody over the head? It's like, for me, it was a challenge to learn how to write a pop song. Now that I feel I know how to write a pop song, it's been a challenge to write a pop song that's, subversive. Everybody's so conscious these days of what works and doesn't work, and is constantly told what works and doesn't work. We kind of lose the idea that, music at times is supposed to be repulsive or supposed to be unsettling.
Do you think you've managed to achieve that then, this time around?
I wouldn't say this is the most unsettling music. I was worried at one point that I was thinking no one's going to understand this, but it was because I was thinking only from my myopic point of view as being in my little pumpkin world, But what's strange about this album is it seems to have opened the door to a lot of people that weren't necessarily fans. Maybe this is the first time that we presented something that's kind of cohesive and maybe an easier pill to swallow.
Well, when you were talking just earlier about, talking about being precious and slightly precious about making sure that things are right, what are the rest of the band doing at this time? Because I've got this image almost like when somebody's in a phone box and, there are people queuing, waiting to use it. Are they like the people outside, like, come on, banging on the window?
That's not an unfair evaluation. Both James and Darcy don't really understand why I need to spend 7 days on one song or something. They don't understand, proverbial beating your head against the wall.
Yeah.
I'm really good at that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like world class.
World class headbanger.
Yeah.
Have you changed much as a person since you've been in the band, do you think?
That's a tough question because I'm not sure whether the band has changed me, I've changed naturally, or success and fame and all that stuff has changed me. So I'm not really sure where all that begins and ends.
But you have changed, though, regardless of what actually provokes it.
I've definitely changed, and I'm not sure for the better. Everyone else seems to think I'm for the better. I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
I think I just kind of got to the point where I just said, do good music and everything else is just whatever. It's like, it's not the end of the world if somebody doesn't like you, or it's a bad review, or you don't give the perfect answer, or play a perfect TV show. There's more to life than getting so wrapped up in every part of the minutia. But I'm a pretty intense person. It's hard to tell someone like me who's intense it's something you have to grow into. You just don't say calm down. It's like, you calm down. That's how you feel.
So what are your personal favourite tracks on the record? Are you still too close to it to be able to say, yeah, that one, and that one?
I kind of hate them all right now. So
yeah.
I'm in that phase. I mean, I really like Tashila. That's the first song on the album. That's one of my favorite songs personally.
Okay, well, we'll play it then. That's what we'll do. Coming to you from what is this? The Green Room at later. Thank you very much, Billy. And this is Smashing Pumpkins.
Twilight.
I'm afraid you'll have to excuse the pun, but he was a smashing fella, Billy Corgan, top guy. And there we sat on this settee, which looked like your aunt's sofa, big florally type of thing. It was completely incongruous. Anyway, Smashing Pumpkins, the album. Works on a lot of different levels, this new record. It's called Adore, and it's out on June the 1st.
Radio 1 Live.